Hey, what's going on, guys? Welcome back to episode 10 of For the Love of Hockey podcast. Today, I'm not going to waste any time. I got a very special guest just for everybody for episode 10. This guy is a stand-up comedian who loves to entertain all hockey fans on Instagram and TikTok. He's a diehard Leafs fan, and this guy's even been recognized for his hockey chirps by Barstool Sports, and he might just be the best thing to come out of Napanee, Ontario since Avril Lavigne. Please welcome to the podcast, certified beauty, Rick Rowley.
Holy shit, bud. I think that's probably one of the best intros I've ever gotten on a podcast. I appreciate that. I don't know if I deserve all of that, but you know what? Whatever you'll give me, I'll take. And I am coming for you. I am coming for you, Avril.
Yes. I mean, I'm sure the hard work and dedication over the years has really paid off to what you're being recognized for now.
Yeah. I mean, it's a grind, right? Like anything, you spend so much time working at it, and you kind of grow in it, and it starts as one thing, and then you get better, right? So, it's what I've always heard about comedies is a fucking marathon. It's not a race. You know what I mean? So a lot of people want to sprint to the finish line, but it's like, no, buds, you gotta keep her steady, you know?
Yeah. So I've never had a comedian on here. Obviously, it's only 10 episodes in. So just a question, like, did you look up to anybody like growing up, like comedians?
Yeah. So when I was younger, I was always a class clown. Like, I was always doing dumb shit at school, and like, fuck, I remember when I was in high school, I popped a Viagra, and I was like, yeah, and the whole school found out about it and stuff like that. So I was just doing all sorts of crazy shit like that. But you kind of act like a bit of a clown, right? But then it's kind of like you nurture it, like sort of on stage. So I think when I was in high school, I really looked up to like Jim Carrey. Like, he was my inspiration. Like, he was the dude who I wanted to be like. But then, I got into comedy, and how do I say this? You find your voice in stand up. Like, you have inspirations, but you do it long enough that you find your own voice, and that's really important in stand up. So he was kind of the reason I got into it. But then, as I got more into stand up, there was, oh man, there's tons of comedians that I looked up to, some that people might not even know about, but depending on how much of a comedy nerd you are. But do you know Theo Vaughn?
No, I do not. No.
Oh, he's big in the States. I would say he's like a Southern United States version of Rick Rowley. Like, he's got all these outrageous stories on stage, and that's what I am. I'm a storyteller. Like, I'm not a very political guy, to be honest. Like, there's some things I'm passionate about, but I don't really. It's not really my agenda to do those things. I'm more of like just a funny guy, like funny stories. So he's definitely a dude now, like, I really look up to. And I just love stand-up comedy, man. Like, I think it's a really underappreciated art form. Like, the comedians don't make enough money, man. Like, in Canada, if you're a headliner, you're clearing, like, I don't know, like, some can make it and could make it a living, but I know some headliners, comedians in Canada, that all live together in a house, like comedians, and a house full of comedians isn't funny at all. It's not as funny as you'd think. Actually, it's just sad as shit you'll ever see, bud, especially the bathroom. I couldn't even believe it. I went in there to rock a piss, and I saw the toilet, and it was like literally like a bath was there, but it was just water left over from the night before. So it's not all glamorous when you're trying to become a stand-up comedian professionally.
No kidding. So why have you focused your comedy around hockey? Like, is it just the best of both worlds in your eyes?
Yeah, like, I kind of look at it as sort of coming full circle. When I was a kid, I really wanted to be around hockey. Like, I was never good enough for I get chirped a lot because a lot of people don't think I ever played fucking hockey. They're like, and I really didn't. Like, I only played like 4 years of hockey. Yeah,
like
but
me.
I'm always around it, right? As a kid, I want to be on I wanted to be like on Hockey Night in Canada and all that shit. But then it was like I wasn't really focused in school, so I was like acting like a clown. I was getting laughs at that, so I kind of almost look at it as like coming full circle because like I'm knowledgeable about the game. Like I like to think I know a lot about it. I spend a lot of time thinking about hockey. Like
Oh yeah.
yeah,
You
even
and
when
me
I'm
both.
yeah, like even if it's like you know, crunching stats on cap friendly or like
Yeah.
players or like fantasy sports, like I'm so into that to that part of the game, and then I'm a fucking comedian, so I'm like, hey, why not just try to do the both, right? So it's definitely, I would say, um I guess the hard work paying off. I'm starting to kind of get noticed more and get more opportunities from there. But I just like working hard. Like I'm not really one of those people that are content with getting one thing. Like I just, I really want to make this a living. So
Right.
that's why you keep writing even on fucking payday.
Yeah. Yeah. Like, was it always focused around hockey, or did you start out kind of just telling your own stories type of thing?
Oh, well, it depends what you're talking about. Stand-up comedy, I very rarely talk about hockey at all because
Right.
it's I'm from stand-up. It's a niche market, right? So
Right.
stand-up is more about like being the Canadian kid, and I talk like this on stage, so everyone thinks I'm fucking drunk or high,
Yeah.
and it
Yeah.
helps with my performance, like kind of being this like laid back kind of goofball. But the online game, man, I was just throwing shit at the wall. I guess I would sit there and say like I knew I wanted to take the next step, and I had a bunch of comedians I'd work with. And they said, dude, you talk about hockey all the time. Why don't you just start fucking making some videos? And I was just
Right.
like, fuck, maybe I should. And I think it was maybe I did one chirp video, and then my second chirp video, I'm pretty sure it was like my second hockey video ever, second or third. All of a sudden, it's on fucking Barstool Sports, and I was just like, "Holy shit!" So then that day, and then it got shared by Spitting Chicklets, and those boys,
Those
like
boys are
early
beauties.
on, yeah, they're beauties. They, especially Grinelli, he's been really good to me, and
Oh,
he
really?
wrote an art.
Have you chatted with them at all?
Yeah, a little bit, a little bit. Grinelli wrote like an article about me in his blog stuff with Barstool. He called me like one of the funniest like hockey accounts to follow. I think I was ranked number 3, fucking behind Brandon Gallagher.
Really?
Fucking pigeon. No, he makes some funny shit. So
Yeah.
those guys like early on were really helpful. Like they just pumped me a bunch, and then from there it's like, dude, it's the power of the internet. Like I just started doing both. And then another huge one for me too was when I started doing those NHL team roasts, and that was about last summer, and I
Yeah.
did the New York Islanders, and someone tagged Kevin Connolly, and it wasn't me who did it. I didn't even tag him in the video. And then he found it. So he fucking DM'd me, and I was like, oh shit. I was like, I'm gonna get reamed out by fucking Eric Murphy, bud.
Yeah.
And then he just like messaged me. He was like, good roast. Now do the Rangers. So because he hates the Rangers. So him and I were talking, and then he asked me if I wanted to roast the Missing Curfew boys, which is
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
Shane O'Brien,
Shane
Scotty
O'Brien and them.
Upshaw, and Jimmy Hayes. So from there, I did that, and they liked it, and I kind of been chatting back and forth, and then they liked my stuff, and Obi had talked about bringing me on, and finally he did. So that helps. So it's all these like little steps that kind of like lead to like more things. And again, like it was an awesome opportunity, but like I always want to keep doing more. Like I'm sitting there being like, okay, well, how about, I'm very grateful for what you get, and
Oh yeah.
you should be grateful. Like you should also learn to enjoy the things.
Yeah.
But I'm just sitting there being like, okay, well, how about 5 appearances on Missing Curfew now? Like how about more? So anyways,
Right.
that's a long-winded answer of saying that it was a little bit of both. And now I'm trying to do both. Like I don't want to just focus on
Right.
hockey, because as a comedian, I think I have a lot more to offer. But like also I would love to like someday have my own like fucking sports show. Like that would just be a dream come true.
Yeah. Yeah. That makes sense. Now, how did you get into hockey and like loving the Leafs? Because like obviously you're a very diehard Leafs fan.
Yeah, I am. I don't know. I think it was like, it's weird. When I was about 8 or 9, I started like kind of like casually watching the Leafs, but then I just like I really started following them. It was probably about like just before like the 2000 season, I guess maybe 98, 99. They had like a really good team and they went all the way to the East Finals against the Sabres. And this might have been like before you started watching hockey, but we got
I was born in 98, so
oh Jesus. Yeah, no, I'm older than you, buds. You're still fucking sucking on tits when I was watching the boys. Yeah, Hasek fucking stole the show from us, and we ended up getting beaten out. And I just from there I was just like hooked, and we just had like a really competitive team. Like mind you, there was no salary cap at the time, so we were able to, at the deadline, we always mortgage our future, and it'd be like, who's the next star coming to Toronto? And some of those teams, man, I tell you, they're just fucking lit. We went to the East Finals again in 2002. And we lost to the Hurricanes, which I thought that was a series that it's hard to remember, but I thought that was a series that we could have gotten. And I think probably our best opportunity at the Cup would have been in 2004. We ended up losing to the Flyers, and we got beat out in the second round. But man, the amount of Hall of Famers we had on that team, it was, well, Sundin, we had Ron Francis, fucking Joe Nieuwendyk, Brian Leach.
Oh,
and it was just God. Like, yeah, not to mention we also had a great supporting cast like Gary Roberts, Darcy Tucker. And it was just like, yeah. So, man, that was heartbreaking. And then it was just pain for like a long time.
Yeah, but it's been pain ever since
Probably
I really remember.
Yeah.
Like Sundin was kind of like my guy growing up, I guess.
Yeah.
And then it was just, I just have hated it ever since. It's just
no, it was a lot of long shitty years, and it was like but I also don't fault I guess a lot of people want to kind of like chirp, and maybe we could have rebuilt sooner, but I don't know if like the salary cap wasn't as like, I just don't, I understand why we didn't do like a complete rebuild sooner. Like we weren't exactly shit. Like we were somewhat competitive. We would just find ways to, fuck it up. And it was like, but then it's like, we started to get kind of good, and then we got kept, and we made the playoffs in 2013. Right. But then we just fell off like 18-wheeler right off the cliff, as Berkey put it. So it was just mediocre to shit hockey for a really long time. And then, well, some could argue and say we're still there.
That guy came along.
Hopefully
he fixes things.
And at the beginning, it was really exciting, right? Because especially that first series, like it was like against the Capitals, it was like, man, like look how well we did with them. And it was a lot of excitement around the team. And I don't know, man, I just been following them for so long. I would say, and I said this on the radio show that I did. I do one back home in Kingston. I go on there on Fridays, and I said that here's what I say to Leafs fans. I Leafs and my comedy career is the exact same way. It's lots of disappointment, and anyone who's thinking about getting into either of them, I say don't do it. Yeah, and then don't do it. It's the worst mistake you ever make. And then if they say, well, then why you do? I say, well, I'm too far deep. Like I'm too much in love. So I can't walk away now. Yeah. So, but yeah, it's just, it comes with the territory, and it was very unfortunate what happened. I didn't take it very well this year, as the online community knows.
No, it's we all thought it was going to be this year, but I mean, like I've seen stats, and like I saw the Bruins, like how many like first round exits they had before they were successful. It was like 11 straight, or like first or second round, like just have been out, and then they finally won. And it's like it took Ovi 14 years to get a Stanley Cup.
Yeah, I mean, for sure, and everyone's always going to have excuses. No, I'm just kidding. I'm not calling it an excuse.
No, it's
people are always going to have their opinions about it. But I think it was like, this was the year where I felt like a lot of people were like, okay, like you just got handed this on a silver platter. Like you've literally been walking through, the whole division all year long. You don't have to play Boston. It's like, you clean house. You're playing a Montreal team, and not to take away from them.
No.
They played they're having an extremely great playoff, and
Yeah.
kudos to them. But it's like it doesn't get much more,
No,
um,
you're right. We literally thought it was just handed to us, and throughout the regular season, Matthews is like, I wish this was more competitive, but it's
yeah.
like maybe he shouldn't have said that. Like Price in the regular season and Price now is like two different people, which is kind of scary.
Yeah, I mean, Price is, people, but he's got the same thing with the whole Toronto fan base. Is that, a lot of people are like shitting on him a lot, and it's like, yeah, but you don't exactly have like a super competitive team, or at least you haven't in the last couple of years. Like, I'm just stating the facts. Like, the Habs weren't supposed to make the playoffs the last 2 years, and now they have, and they've won rounds. So it's like good for them, but it's like also too, it's like a lot of people, like the media, were going hard on Carey the same way they do this in Toronto with like Mitchie and stuff, and it's like, but also too, like he's a goalie, like he didn't have a fucking good team in front of him.
No.
Whereas I'm sitting there for Mitchie, I'm like, how do you not get shit done with Matthews? Like, you're not a lone ranger, you have a wingman there, and vice versa. So in theory, yes, but it's just, I don't know, man. It's not looking good right now. We don't have a lot of cap flexibility to make moves. I don't think Hyman's going to return. I would say that Mo's probably going to get shipped out. I just don't see how he goes on the market next year and we're going to be able to pay him $8 million as a number one defenseman when we have four guys tied up, taking up half our cap.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah. Now this is more of like a personal question. I've noticed even with me, but you've even said it. Why do you strive to stay connected with your audience if you like receive a message from them?
Yeah, no. Good question. The thing is, Buds, is I'm a people pleaser at heart. Even when I do stand-up comedy, I want everyone in the room to be happy. That's why I don't take like bombs very well. And trust me, I've bombed a lot on stage.
Yeah.
And like I always want to make everyone happy and having a good time. So it does sting when things don't go your way. But I'd say that, yeah, I like being the life of the party. I like everyone feeling good. But I will say that, especially when things get kind of like, sometimes I get opportunities and I get a bunch of like new followers, like even recently. And it's like, I have a hard time keeping up with everything. And it's, I don't know if this is the question you're asking, but I would recommend to any content creator to try to have a balance between the two things, because it is hard. You want to pump out content, and I get it. A lot of people, want to talk with you and stuff like that, but you also have to have time for yourself. And it's just like, so I try my best at the end of the day, but sometimes I'm like, I got to take a fucking break from this, because it's not all good stuff too. I've spoke on this on other podcasts before. It's like, I even took notifications off my Instagram. Like, I used to get notifications on it, but I was, over the past year, especially like when I get shared on like things, people are like now starting to DM me and like literally like fucking first call me a fucking like they'll start by calling me like a fucking queer or something. So they'll say something like that. I'm just like, okay, I didn't know you knew about my sexual orientation or preference, whatever you want to call it. But anyways, and then they'll start like literally threatening me. So it's like, I one time, woke up and I was laying in bed with my girl, and I got 3 calls at 3:00 in the morning of dudes, threatening me essentially. And, the Quebec fans, I'm sorry, but some of the French Canadian fans, not all of them, but some of them are fucking nuts, flipping cars, starting riots. Toronto fans are delusional. Like, we're dumb because we're delusional, and Habs fans are dumb because they're violent, in my opinion. But some of these guys are like literally like DMing me and telling me they're gonna come and fight me, and I'm just sitting there being like, Okay, like I don't know how to respond to that. Like they never tell me where it's gonna happen either. Like you would think with a fight, and clearly this guy like had a lot of time to just drive to Toronto, drop everything just for a fucking Tilly. I don't even think I'm worth that amount of time, but some people I guess got more time on their hands,
Oh yeah.
and they can just drive 5 hours for a Tilly, eh? So, anyways, there's a balance, and I would always say, try to find that balance, because at the end of the day, you got to have a fresh mind too when you're doing content. You have to want to do it too. You can't just be
Oh yeah.
worried about trying to please everybody.
Would you say it builds a better audience if you like reply back to people too, in a way?
Yeah, well, I don't know. There's certain things about the algorithm I'm still trying to figure out. My girlfriend's very savvy with that stuff, but sometimes that's why a lot of time people will just post things on the page where it's literally just like, that whole like give this person a name, wrong answers only, or what's your favorite? Because
The memes kind of thing.
yeah, apparently audience interaction like helps boost the thing. I'm not a fan of that stuff unless it's kind of like funny. Like I just try to do comedy. Like I probably do need to be more disciplined where it's like, trying to like once a week do stuff that's like, but at the end of the day, it's like I don't really give a fuck. Like I just like
No.
throwing on and just like me just kind of talking. But yeah, there's value to that stuff for sure.
Yeah. Now I think it would be a great honor, but what kind of honor was it when you got recognized by the Spittin' Chicklets guys? Like, how did that all come about? And you kind of talked about it, but
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, it started off with like them kind of like sharing some of my shit, and then I start noticing every once in a while you see people like start following you and shit. So I kind of got a little fanboy when Biz started following me, same way I did with like, you know, Kevin Connolly, and then the Curfew Boys, all of them, like Obi, Upshaw, and Hayes, and then now recently I started to know that more hockey players I see are starting to follow me. I'm just like, man, this is fucking sick. But no, it was just, dude, honestly, it wasn't really like I didn't really reach out to them. It was just more like I was just working hard and they liked my shit, so they started doing it. And then I've had a few conversations, very little with like those guys like DMs like Biz and stuff, but more like Granelli, because just I've thanked him for things that he's done, like whether it be like sharing my stuff or writing like shit up about me. But yeah, that's kind of it. I also at the end of the day, is like I just really want to get good at this stuff, so I also don't
yeah,
really like asking for too many favors.
yeah,
In this business, there's a balance. Like I just believe you got to be working like hard enough to before you start kind of like just like asking for favors. So most of the time it's just me thanking, but sometimes when you have a few extra pops, you might just be like, yo, get me a fucking job or something. But I try not to send too many of those. So that's where it's at right now. Recently they shared something, I think it was about a couple months, maybe a month or two ago. But yeah, those guys have always been good to me, just like the Curfew Boys, man. And then they've always shouted me out, and I appreciate it. It helps me out because at the end of the day, yeah, they have the hockey fans. Like I have hockey fans and comedy fans, but at the end of the day, I never played in the show.
yeah,
Like, what I mean? Which is the reason why I get chirped a lot, I think, by some of the haters, because they're just like, who's this fucking guy? But you don't think about that stuff, man.
no.
I know a lot about the game, and you do too. Like, we're hockey fans. We know about the game,
Yeah, that's I think that's awesome.
Yeah. Thanks, buds.
No, no problem. Now you talked about your voice, and I just have a question. Like, is that on purpose? Like, have you found out that people react differently when you sound like that versus when you don't? Or like, how did that kind of all come about?
Yeah, well, that was kind of all about the finding the voice thing. Now, I would say that the way I talk there with like some of the lingo and like it's definitely exaggerated. It's played up like quite a bit the same way it is on stage. Like definitely exaggerated. But I always did, like growing up, like I did kind of have like
small town talk kind of thing. I
Yeah,
understand
like
that because I come from a small town too.
yeah, like when I was younger, the older kids would fucking chirp me because they would. What was the joke they would say was that I would always like the way I answered my question, or I would say a statement. I always go like, yeah, like that. So like I
Yeah.
was like basically like a valley girl, and they would just like they'd chirp me and they'd say, "Are you a Canadian or American?" So I had like a speech impediment when I was younger, and then when I was in university, I didn't even realize this, but there was a group of girls that like I would see like at like parties and stuff that they called me fucking drunk sober guy. And
Really?
I wasn't playing an act at all. And the reason I found out what that meant that they couldn't tell if I was hammered, if I was sober. So
Oh,
even when I wasn't trying, people thought I was like drunk like all the time. And then on stage, people would kind of early on would make comparisons to me and Jeff Spicoli from Fast Times at Richmond High. It's an old classic. I
yeah,
don't know
yeah,
if you know the flick, but like a stoner dude. But I don't
yeah.
smoke weed, so I guess I kind of lean more into the Canadian side of it. So it's essentially it's an exaggerated version of myself. But even if I try not to, people still think I'm high or like drunk.
Like, do you think people always react like better that way? Like, for someone like me, I feel like I couldn't do that because it would just be weird. But like, do you feel
Mhm.
like all comedians kind of sort of do that type of thing?
Well, it depends. Like as a comedian, because going on stage is a very scary thing. Like
Oh
it's
yeah.
like being in front of people and like talking. Like you kind of got to be like mentally like in balance to do that shit to begin with. So people will rely on things that make them feel safe on stage. So if you got like a shtick or something that really works, I find that I've been around comedy long enough that people definitely play up aspects of themselves. Like if they like smoking weed, then they'll kind of be like the stoner guy on stage a little bit. And maybe they don't smoke weed a lot, but that's just like that's what works for them. So yeah, like it happens. Like it's people find what works for them and they keep doing it. But the more how do I say this, whether it's comedy or podcasting or anything, even making videos, you the more time you spend it, the more real you get. So it's like
Yeah.
when I used to do stand-up comedy, it would be like some of the stories, like I would watch old clips. They're so fucking exaggerated
Right.
that I was just like, no one would believe that joke if I heard it now. But it's like the more you do it, the more it's like you're actually like kind of talking to people, and the stories are actually just real
Yeah.
or slightly more exaggerated, but at least they, they're more grounded in reality. Whereas when you first start, you're trying to figure out what's funny. Does that make sense?
Yeah. 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 I've even noticed like doing TikTok over the past couple months that like I have a very like weird and crazy side to me, and like just getting more comfortable filming my own self doing something that
Yeah.
kind of comes out a little bit.
Yeah,
Um,
well, here's the one thing I'll say about TikTok is that I've definitely used it as more of like a trashy Canadian thing. Like my Instagram's more of hockey, just because it's like I have more of a hockey following on there, whereas my TikTok's more comedy related. But I use TikTok to help me figure out what's gonna work for Instagram because I check the shares. And
right.
and then on top of that too, like I've been mixing both. Like I'm trying not to just do comedy, as I've already said, but see, the thing is with TikTok or a lot of things, if you kind of blow up being known for one thing, then you're kind of also pigeonholed it, and like you have to stick to that. I noticed that with
That's
people. So
true.
it's like you might have like a weird side, you might do like a weird fucking dance or something like that, and then you have a bunch of viral videos like that. So now it's like everyone wants to see that. And I find TikTok kind of does that. And maybe it's just the internet too, where it's like, so that's not really what I'm trying to do anymore. I'm trying to now just build a following where it's like people are going to listen to my podcast. They'll sit down and listen to 35 minute episodes. That's usually how long I keep mine. Or they'll buy my merch because it's like a saying. They like, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
whereas some people, it's like they blow up for one thing, and that's fine. Like, both work, but I'm in this, I guess, kind of for the long haul. I like to try to adjust and change over time, which means taking more risks. It also means more failure
Yeah.
too
And you
in the
could
long
lose
run.
followers too in that
Oh,
sense.
buddy, I'm losing followers left, right, and all the time, all
Yeah.
the time. And I used to get really worked up,
Upset
and
about it.
I'm honestly probably not as worked up because everything's been going well lately. So
Yeah.
ask me next time, and I'll be like, fuck. But it's like, no, dude, like when I first started this, like there's definitely people who've just like unfollowed me because like I was known as the hockey chirp guy. It's like, well, I'm not doing just hockey chirps anymore. So people are like, okay, well, I don't want to fucking listen to this person anymore.
Yeah.
It happens. But at the end of the day, you have to kind of like just suck it up.
Yeah. 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 I totally agree.
Yeah.
Now, from this stand-up side of things, or just uh your life in general, do you have any like wild stories that you could tell me, or I guess tell my audience?
Oh, geez. I don't even know where to start. What do you want to hear?
It doesn't matter. Like I know you said the fan thing, like some of those boys coming to like beat you up. Do you have any like fan interactions or whatever?
Fan interactions.
Like
Um,
have you met any like anybody from your following like a lot? Like have you ever had any like meetups or anything, or no?
well, are you talking about with like verified accounts or just like random followers?
Like so like you know how like some popular YouTube will be like, hey, like I'm going here for like a signing or something. Like you know, you understand what I mean, like that.
Oh, I see. I see. Well, I've been recognized a few times, and then also like I ran a show like last year, just before COVID, because stand-up comedy is like fucking dunzos in Canada right now. Well, I guess it's
Yeah.
starting to come back, and I had some followers that like exclusively who know me from the internet come out to that. But no, it's something I would like to do more. Especially when stand-up comedy's back up and running, just you know, just try to grind. I guess I'll tell this story. So I had and I don't even know if this kid still follows me, but he's a beauty. So this kid was like really like loving my stuff, right? Just like a younger guy. But I'll explain in a second why this was kind of weird. So he just like always kind of DMing me. I was just trying to be polite, like, oh yeah, thanks, kind of like I was talking about. So, anyways, then I got a phone call, and at this point, I'm just sitting there being like, oh, maybe this is somebody like telling me about a gig. So I pick it up, and then I hear this like little kid talking to me, and I was like, what? And then it turns out the kid was fucking a 12-year-old kid from North Bay, and I don't even know why he has an Instagram account, but he follows my shit and he loves my stuff. And at this point, I was just trying to be so nice because that's how I am. I'm like polite. I just had like a 10-minute conversation with this kid, like straight up, like a 12-year-old kid, which is like, I don't even know if this is legal,
Yeah.
like, or
Yeah.
anything like that. Right. So we're just like talking. And then I just like put down the phone for a second and tell my girlfriend, like, I don't know what to fucking do and all this stuff. And then finally he's like, can I call you? Like, like once a month. And I was like, yeah, sure, bud. Like I said yes because I didn't want to let him down. So now I have like this like not like a pen pal, but like a phone buddy
Phone
who's like a
pal.
12-year-old kid who just keeps fucking calling me. And I never know what I didn't save his number because I was just like, no, don't. But that was the problem, is I picked up a second time. So I had like 2 conversations with this kid.
Oh no.
And the thing is like I heard a story once about this like I think 12 or 13-year-old girl who like tweeted The Rock, and she's like, hey, can you come to my prom? And it's The Rock, right? So everyone loves him, and it was getting retweeted a bunch, so he could do no harm. And he just pulled this like amazing thing where it's like, hey, listen, like, I'm not going to be able to go to your prom, but you and all your friends can go to my movie screening.
Premiere.
You guys can get all
Yeah.
the popcorn, all
Yeah.
the chocolate, and what treats, whatever you want. And I'm like, I can't do that. Like, you know
Yeah.
what I mean? I'm not The Rock. Okay.
Yeah.
Number one, I can't just bring like a fucking 12-year-old kid to my comedy show and like all of his friends and be like,
Yeah.
hey man, I'm going to get arrested.
Maybe do a birthday party or something, or give them some free merch or something.
Yeah. Like, it's like, I don't have the following like The Rock. I'm not famous enough. And
Yeah.
it's like, you know what I mean? So it would just be fucking weird if I'm trying to,
Yeah.
hang out with a 12-year-old and bring all his friends to make him happy. So I had to like try to end that friendship the best, like not end the friendship. I said, listen, I actually did switch numbers. It wasn't because of him. I finally got a Toronto number, but I also
Yeah.
took out the phone number out of my profile now. So I say, you can email me anytime and I'll try to get back to you. But that was like probably the weirdest interaction I had. I mean, like not like getting threatened or anything. And I've had a couple of like, I don't know what it is. I had a lot of like dudes slide in my DMs and tell me that I'm fucking sexy. And
Like,
and I'm not, listen,
okay.
no, listen, I'm not, there's no judgment at all.
No,
Like,
no, no.
props to them, like, for like being
You just
great.
don't
But there
swing
was,
that way, right?
no, I don't personally, but there
No,
was one
exactly.
that was like a little too graphic. Like, even if I was, you know,
Oh, wow.
interested, it was
Yeah.
like, yeah, he was literally talking about like shitting in a cup and like drinking it and stuff. Like, yeah. And I was like, when I first heard that, I was like, dude, like this is fucking intense. Like, you
Oh
know what
my
I mean?
God.
Yeah, like I even started thinking about it. I was like, fuck, if I was gay, I could not go that hard, like right off the bat. I would just be too intimidated.
Petrified.
Yeah, I felt a little flustered. I was like,
Yeah.
I never been right off the bat offered to have my poo drank by somebody. So that was a little
Weird.
yeah, it was a little weird. I'm not gonna lie. People are into things, but I wouldn't start with that, you
Yeah.
know what I
No
mean?
doubt. Yeah.
For anyone listening, if you want to, you know, tell somebody they're attractive, that's one thing. But yeah, maybe the
Not
poo
do that.
stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Keep away
that
from
should
that.
be like DM number 20 or
Or
something.
keep it with your doctor, because I feel like
Yeah,
giving a poo sample to my doctor is more normal than giving it
yeah.
to a stranger.
I don't know what's in my shit, bud. Like, you know what I mean? I'm not gonna make. Anyway, so that was a little weird. But other than that, like, I don't know. I got some funny stuff, but it's for the most part, it's been really good, and I really do appreciate everyone who follows my stuff and shouts out to me and reaches out, because I do this for everybody. Like, you know what I mean? This is why I do it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you have any like weird stand-up like moments or something that like maybe
Oh,
you're too embarrassed like something that happened embarrassing on stage that you are willing to share?
are you kidding me, dude? Fucking bombing's like that's like 50% of stand up, but at least for me, I don't know, maybe I got to get better.
Nobody's thrown anything at you?
Yeah, I've had some shit thrown at me, but it was just like it was silly. It was one time a girl was out with her friend and she was trying to be funny and she threw banana peel at me and I was just
Uh,
like, I kind of reamed her out a little bit. Because you know what I mean? Like, if the roles were reversed and I threw it at like a girl on stage, I'd get fucked up, right?
yeah,
So,
yeah,
but that was not even funny. That was just like weird. I guess probably this is a funny bomb story. So I never took bombing really well. I still don't, but I used to take it really bad. Like I would be like a coach flipping out, like
yeah.
kicking shit. One time I'm pretty sure I sprained my toe because I kicked a garbage can so hard because I bombed and I was just angry. So I needed to find a better way to do it because people didn't want to be around me because they were just like, oh, Ricky's gonna snap.
Yeah.
And I had one where it was a bomb and I was just like, okay, I'm not gonna kick anything. But I just got so pissed. I grabbed my hat and I threw it and it landed on top of the comedy club that 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 we were performing at, because the comedy club was like it wasn't very high. It was like one of those um like kind of like a strip mall business, like, you know what
Yeah.
I mean? So like I don't know
For
how
sure.
tall the roof was, but it
Yeah.
wasn't that tall. But the only problem was that it was up on the roof now. So I was like a little pinned and I was like, I got to go back up and get it. So I climbed up through the dumpster and on top of the roof and I grabbed my hat and now I'm trying to figure out the way to get down because it just didn't look as safe getting up. Like I was a little like messed up. And one of my buddies who came to watch me, who was like a huge stoner, was at the bottom. He watched me on top of the building with the hat in my hand, and he was like saying to me, he was like, yo man, come on, don't jump. It's not worth it. So this guy literally thought I was gonna
Oh
fucking off
no.
myself because of a bad set. But the crazy part is I was like actually like kind of pissed off about his reaction because he just said, come on, man, don't jump. And I was like, you didn't seem very concerned at all. Like, even if
Yeah.
I was, going to jump. I'm like, that was like, I was like,
That
does this
wasn't
guy
even a
need
try.
like, yeah, does this guy need new weed or do I need fucking more new friends? Because this guy clearly doesn't give a shit about me. So that was just kind of like a funny like bomb story. But oh yeah, no man, you bomb all the time, but you just got to be able to learn to take them right off the chin.
Right. Now, if there's anybody out there that is looking to do stand up or make funny content like you, do you have any advice for them?
Well, I don't know. I mean, I guess they are a little bit different beasts. I would say stand up. It's people say write what you know. A lot of time people, starting stand up is like basically like being like a baby. You're just crawling for the first time. You're trying to figure out what's funny. So a lot of times people will just like write like actual jokes, and those are funny. But I think the real humor comes from people's like lives and like the way they see the world, right? So I would say I would say first write 6 minutes, because usually any place you go to do stand-up comedy requires at least 6 minutes on stage, but make sure it's, original material, like it's your own shit, like based on your life, and try it out and keep practicing and try to get up as much as you can, because you start to build comfortability on stage. Now, as for content create, in a sense, it is sort of like stand up, where it's like you should be doing videos like based on what you know, or like
Right.
what you think is funny. Like I guess at this point it would be funny, like the character I've sort of had is like Ricky, like doing something like, I don't know, like going like a fucking beauty pageant, or like going to like a date at the spa. Like it might be funny, but it's like you wouldn't make material about you doing something you weren't interested in, right? So I would say stuff like that. But it also is tough now, because especially in Canada, like it's comedy now is like pretty like PC. So it's very easy to kind of like offend people if you're talking about things that you don't really like understand, right? So as a comic, I try not to talk about things like gender or like race, especially because I'm a fucking white dude, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
So I would say like keep that in mind. But one thing I think is really tough is that as a comedian you have to take chances, and that's where I feel bad for a lot of new people getting into content creating or stand up, is that early on you don't necessarily know what's funny. You're still trying to figure it out, and you are going to take chances. So you might say one thing and it's going to get you fucking blacklisted right away. No one's going to want to work with you because
Or
you're known as like
canceled, something like that. Yeah.
yeah, like a bigot and stuff. And it's like I understand that side of it too, but I do think that people need to also learn, and they do need to bomb, like, because they got to experience it for themselves, because you need the audience to tell you if it's funny too, not just not a fucking blogger at the back of the room telling
Right.
you what's funny. You let the audience also decide too, right? So there's a fine line. Like, you're obviously not going to go on the stage and just start like trashing like people, right? Because that's not even funny. Like, it's like make a joke, but also too it's like you have to take a couple off the chin and bomb and know what it's like. So I hope that people would give allowances to people trying to take chances too, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Now, just one topic that I saw on your Instagram today.
Yeah.
What's your take on that Montreal Canadiens color on the CN Tower there?
Oh my god. Well, you can add that to the fucking list of rants I had about the Leafs. I don't understand it. I don't know whose decision that was. I kind of think I don't know. I don't know if it's because we're so soft in Toronto, or like whatever, and we're just like, yeah, support whatever. But listen, like there's like don't see in Tower, like I said this in I was like livid. I'm like, you can see that shit from Hamilton. So what about all these Leafs fans that are going to go outside? Like, I'm not even gonna walk outside anymore. I don't want to fucking go there. I have a building blocking the CN Tower, and I'm happy about that because I probably would have fucking thrown a lawn chair off my balcony because why do we need to support? And I don't think Montreal would do that for us. Like, I
No,
don't
no,
tell me a
no.
place
They're
in Montreal.
Frenchies. You talked about them
They
wanting
don't, yeah, they
to
don't even fucking
fight
like
you.
on. Most of them don't even like fucking the rest of Canada, so they're not
They
going
hate
to
us.
support the Leafs. So why are we doing that? It's like, I get it. It's like the whole Canadian thing, but that's just that doesn't solve it like anything. Like the league's still predominantly Canadian players. Like we're well represented in the NHL. I understand
Yeah.
a city hasn't won, but these weren't Leafs fans that did this, that had to say in this, because if they were, everyone knows that's a fucking no.
Yeah, yeah, no, it's one thing like Toronto Blue Jays or the Toronto Raptors to go like to represent their colors, but yeah, I don't like how they cross the line with the
An
Habs.
opposing team that literally beat us in a series 2 weeks ago. Are you kidding me?
Yeah, it's just
Give
just
your heads a
brutal,
shake.
just brutal.
Give your balls a
Anyways,
tug.
anyways, this was a blast. I want to thank you for coming on and taking your time out of your day to hop on.
No worries,
I
buddy.
this was amazing, and maybe we'll come back in a year or so, and maybe when I'm popped off a little bit more, we'll have a conversation.
Anytime, buddy. Keep grinding out there, man. It's been an absolute pleasure to talk to you.
Thank you very much, man.
Fuck yeah, bud.
Take her easy.
Take it easy.